Hell Week starts Sunday night, Tuesday evening that I got pulled out of class. And you're already kind of delirious at that point because like you're about 48 hours in. You hadn't slept at all. I think we had our first med check Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's med checks. And so we'd had our first med check. It's a big milestone to get there. I was running along and I coughed and there's a bunch of phlegm came out of my mouth and I spit. I think we were under the boat or something. And it was just bright red. Shoot. I was like,
Cool.
and everyone talks about the different injuries that are common among students, and SIPE is one of them. It's typically more common in winter hell weeks, but they really have no idea how or why we get it. The only groups of people that they really see coming down with this issue is bud students and some triathletes, but they don't know what exact conditions cause it. They think it has something to do with stress, cold, being in moisture, and then maybe being in the prone position, like while swimming. That's why they call it swimmer induced. They couldn't tell you why one student gets it at one time and one student doesn't. Like I got it in the summer and then I went again in the fall when it was colder and I was fine.
Mhm.
And I remember a guy, he was finishing his third hell week when I had just showed up, but he had gotten SIPE his first time on Monday night, his second time on Tuesday night, and his third time on Wednesday night. And on the Wednesday one, he was just like, I'm just keeping it to myself. I'm close enough. And he was able to push through. But he got it all
Yeah,
three
because if you
classes.
go Wednesday, if you would have made it to Wednesday, you would have rolled, right?
Maybe. That's a general rule of thumb.
Mhm.
Wednesday's pretty iffy. Thursday, you're usually good. But it really depends on how you've been performing, how the instructors think about you, and some other factors. I'm sure they have a hard cutoff in their own criteria that says no students will be rolled forward until they hit this point, and then they have a
Mhm.
gray area where they have instructor discretion. But yeah, typically the goal is get to Wednesday and you can kind of make it through. But you also don't want to be the guy that makes it to Wednesday and then you get rolled forward
Yeah.
where other people are doing another 48 hours, which is basically half of Hell Week. So no one wants to be that guy that's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
made it for 3 days.
Yeah. How did it feel knowing like I had to go through that again? Because how was it like the
No,
first
it's
time
super
for you?
demoralizing.
Yeah.
My girlfriend at the time, I had her repeat to me several times after I got rolled, you're not in that class anymore. You're not in that class anymore. Like it, stop trying to think what if and just focus on what's in front of you. And it goes back to that stoicism idea of control what or only worry about what you can control. It was out of my control that I wasn't in that class anymore. You're allowed to miss 4 hours of training, and I was in medical for 4 hours. They're trying to heal me up. I forget it's basically an inhaler type thing. They're having me breathe through those, trying to clear the fluid out of my lungs. Tried warming me up to have my system flush it out. But every time they put me on a bike with a finger thing that does your pulse and your blood oxygen concentration. You're typically around 98, 99% oxygen saturation. If you drop below 90%, it's getting dangerous. I was getting on the bike and it would go from 98 and plummet down to about 81%, like just
Wow.
like that. And so like we can't send you out until you stay in the 90s. And after 4 hours, like, sorry, you hit a threshold. We have to roll you out now. So that was a weird conversation because I went back to the area where the students who quit, they have you go back to the holding classroom. They have cots and everything. And so I'm in there and it's a weird feeling because everyone else in there had quit. I don't think there was any other med roles. I'm sleeping. And then the next morning, I called my roommate who was a class behind me and asked him to come pick me up. He's like, did you quit? I was like, no, I got rolled, but I don't really want to talk about it right now. Can you just come grab me? It took a lot of processing because in my head, I had just finished the last log PT. So you have one log PT every week for the 4 weeks of first phase. And then there's, I think, three or four log PTs during Hell Week. And those are some of the worst, most grueling evolutions. And we had just finished our last one. It's like, yes, I'm beyond log PT because second and third phase, they usually don't have to do that punishment. And then I was thinking to myself, fuck, I have to do all seven of them again.
Wow.
So
So that's that's pretty brutal. That how did you get over and how long did it take you to get over that demoralizing feeling.
Once I classed up again. And I got rolled on Wednesday, and there's typically a week gap between when Hell Week ends and when the next class starts. So Hell Week will end on Friday. It'll usually be, was it 10 days? The next Monday would be the next class. So there's a little bit of a gap. For whatever reason with the scheduling, the next class was starting that Monday. So like 5 days later. And when I checked back into, I forget what it was called, but basically like the holding unit for students who are waiting to class up, I talked to the officer in charge, and I'm like, when's the next class I can get into? I'm like, well, there's room in the one on Monday. I'm like, put me in it. Are you sure? 'Cause, I just got rolled out of a class. I just spent 7 weeks, 7 weeks, yeah, 7 weeks up to that point of first phase. He's like, you sure you don't want to take a break and rest? I'm like, no, just get me in the next class. I don't want to wait 2 more months, essentially sitting in purgatory, waiting to class up again. Like, just put me in the next one. I'll figure it out. And that was probably the best thing for me, to just have something else to focus on and not be dwelling on, watching my previous class progress even farther. As it was when I was going through my next first phase, I was watching my previous class go on to second phase. And so first phase, you have the green helmets, second phase, you have the blue, and third phase, you have the red. You don't see much of third phase because they're off on the island, but first and second phase, they see each other all the time. And so seeing my previous class run around with their blue hats or helmets go into all the pool comp stuff, it's like, this is rough. So having them being even farther in front of me would have been worse. I was like, just get me in a class and I can start working through the stuff. I can heal up along the way, but I'd rather be making progress than stagnating.